Gartner has just released the second quarter 2011 update to the global IT spending forecast. The good news this quarter is that we remain cautiously optimistic about IT spending in 2011, and that's despite the global economic uncertainties around the world. We've revised up the forecast for 2011 growth from 5.6% growth that we had last quarter to 7.1% growth this quarter. It's important to note, though, that in constant currency terms, we've actually shaved a little bit of growth from 4.3% that we had last quarter to 3.6% growth this quarter. So what that means is that of that 7.1% growth in US dollar terms, about half of it is accounted for by exchange rate fluctuations. The other big event that we've been concerned about this past quarter has been the natural disaster that happened in Japan back in March. At the time, there was a lot of concern that it would have a big impact on the global IT industry. We looked at both the supply side and the demand side. On the supply side, we took a look at the supply chain right back to silicon wafer production. What we found is that there has been very little impact on the global IT electronics manufacturing. There were some shortages of some key components, but they didn't really disrupt electronic manufacturing at the global level. So no real impact on global IT spending from that perspective. On the demand side, though, locally in Japan, we will see an impact on IT spending this year. In fact, we've taken down our forecast for local currency spending in Japan. It's actually gone a little bit negative for 2011. However, by the end of the year, we expect to see that picking back up, and into 2012 we'll be much more positive outlook there as the rebuilding and reconstruction efforts in Japan get underway. The other thing we've done this quarter is to release an update to our public cloud services forecast. This forecast covers business services, applications, in other words software as a service, application infrastructure and systems infrastructure. Now last year, 2010, overall, that market was worth about 70 billion US. That's going to grow to about 180 billion US by 2015. That's a 20% annual average growth rate. So compare that with the 5% annual average growth rate for IT spend overall, and you can see why there's a lot of hype around the industry. However, putting that hype into context, that 70 billion is only about 2% of global IT spend last year, and it's going to grow to about 4% of the total by 2015. So, a little bit of a reality check there. However, within the cloud, we are seeing some serious adoption in some sectors. For example, in software as a service, about 10 billion was spent last year, and that's about 10% of enterprise application software spending overall. And by 2015, software as a service is going to account for close to 15% of that enterprise applications market, worth about 20 billion by 2015. So in terms of cloud, we are seeing some adoption now, but really the main impact I think is going to be after the 2015 time horizon. In the meantime, what we have to concern ourselves about is the global economic situation. That said, businesses are more confident now, the outlook is a bit more stable and predictable, and they are starting to make investments in IT, and that's been reflected in our moderate growth forecast for 2011.